Hi, everyone. I'm Maria Elena Marcano, your internship coordinator here in the Academic Advising and Career Education Office, otherwise known as ACE. Today, we will be reviewing social media through an employer's lens with quick tips and best practice for our CSU East Bay students and alumni. Because this presentation is meant to be short in length, we will be reviewing social media in general terms with short points to consider when developing your online profile and the importance of social networking. I highly encourage, if you feel motivated after this presentation and want feedback on your online professional profiles, to please consider scheduling a meeting with our ACE career counselors. We are here to help you and will walk you through this process if needed. Okay, so let's get started. In order to talk about social media, I honestly feel we need to first talk a little bit about social networking. What is social networking and why is it important from an employer's point of view? Social networking is designed as a means to network through social media sites with friends, family, colleagues, and clients and customers. Think about the last time you added someone to your social media account. Whether it be a friend or contact through work, family. I know some of you are probably smiling right now, and I hope that person was, an awesome contact. But it's fairly normal to expand your network as you meet people. In fact, nowadays it's almost expected. The question I have for you is, have you ever taken the time to consider that employers research their candidates by looking at your social networking sites? For example, companies like Handshake, LinkedIn, Indeed, Facebook, Instagram, and even Pinterest, they have employer memberships that allow employers to search your profile and information to some degree. Research states that 79% of employers use social networking sites to research their candidates. What this means is that employers employ someone to check out your social media presence to get a better sense of who you are. 40% of employers hire candidates based on their social media presence, and 70% have rejected candidates based on their findings. So, it's obvious that these employers found something that did not mesh well with their company's goals and mission. When was the last time, I guess, that you looked at your social media platforms through the lens of a hiring manager? Because we have access to a number of social media platforms, it is now easier than ever to take advantage of the power of social media to connect with employers, put ourselves out there as, viable, current, driven candidates based on what we are advertising about ourselves. Are you maximizing networking opportunities by highlighting your professional journey on your social media accounts? If not now, when? Now more than ever is the time to start thinking about how you can pivot your story moving forward. So let's start to talk about that pivot. There are some important aspects to keep in mind when creating and maintaining a social media profile. As I review these tips, start to think about your social media profiles and ask yourself, is your profile appropriate through the lens of an employer? The big question is, would you hire you? Creating a social media profile is simple and easy in most cases. Having a social media profile that gets a lot of attention, and that's what takes a lot of organization, time, and commitment. You may already be doing this, however, are you consistent at doing this? Employers are looking to see who makes time for their career and professional development. In my discussions with recruiters and HR managers, 5 key areas seem to always come up on what they are looking at and what they are looking for on social media. So let's discuss these 5 key elements that employers are looking at. Number 1, complete profile. Organizing your profile by completing all required sections is key. How this impacts you is if you do not have a complete profile, it's the most important thing because employers with their memberships only either make time or have access to complete profiles of candidates. For example, our Handshake, our career profile at CSU East Bay, they only consider complete profiles if you have at least 1 work experience entered, 1 student organization experience entered, and 1 skill entered. So even more reason to get involved on campus or in life. Number 2, picture. Having a professional picture that represents your personality versus like a selfie on a bad day can speak volumes for a hiring manager. Who may be actually looking at your picture going, is this someone I need to be hiring right now? Don't be that swipe left or right situation. Consider using, a good phone or a cell phone nowadays have awesome cameras on it. You don't need something high tech. With good lighting, dress professional while looking your best. And number one, smile. Research also states that when you smile, you seem and may come across more likable. And that's what we want. We want you to be more likable to that recruiter or that HR manager. Remember, this is a headshot, not a full body shot. No sunglasses, ball caps, tilted pictures, or bad lighting. We don't want to have half of your face shaded. Number 3, proofread. Do yourself a favor and read all content before posting. Bad grammar and misspellings should be avoided. Caution when using slang. Consider who could be potentially be reading this and is it really appropriate what you're posting? Think about the long haul. If somebody looks back later, is it appropriate? For those that have had a social media profile for a while, when was the last time you changed your picture? When was that? Consider changing your picture about every 6 months to a year. I know you may like it, but you want to stay current and fresh. Number 4, maintenance. Create a schedule to maintain your social media profiles either weekly, monthly, or the latest every 6 months. This is something you will need to decide what works best for you. It is important to maintain your social media profile because it helps build a better social media presence by being discoverable and relevant in a search. We want them to find you. So how does maintenance work? It's really easy. You just need to decide on what days work best for you and when to update your profile. Then schedule some calendar reminders, because we have them in our computers and even on our cell phones nowadays, to actually update and take the time to actually update our social media. For example, reply to comments on Tuesdays, upload images on Fridays. Setting these dates of actions are helpful and will allow you to not be so overwhelmed in this process of staying current. Number 5, your story. The great thing about building your social media profile is that you have the opportunity to define your story through highlighting your achievements. Consider adding your course projects, blogs, artwork, creative writing, video projects. These will allow employers to really get to know how creative and involved you are professionally. Platforms like LinkedIn allow you to request for recommendations. Do not be shy in this area. Ask for your recommendations from former employers, classmates, and colleagues to help really validate your skills and experience while again building your network. Remember to untag yourself and block personal photos. You may be surprised how many people have tagged you. Do some research and untag yourself from inappropriate photos and posts. Don't let this be the reason you weren't taken seriously. It's just not that high stakes are happening right now. So, okay, I know this is a lot. I just kind of zoomed through a lot of content, but that's why we're here to help you process. Our CSU East Bay Career Platform is called Handshake. If you are not yet set up, now is the time to consider your account and try to put it to good use. It's the time that we want to remind you that your career search is no longer a one-way street with employers. Research shows that having a complete profile means you are 5 times more likely to be hired and or contacted by an employer with a complete profile. I have heard many students tell me that they were contacted by Handshake and LinkedIn because their profiles were complete and they exhibited all their creative work and references. This is great because what this means is that our students are being seen as viable, relevant candidates on these platforms. But again, their profiles and platforms were complete. So be the pioneer we know you to be. Take the time to build up your social media profiles with all your accomplishments and experiences. Don't sell yourself short. And as I close, I want to leave you with this, some final thoughts. Ask yourself, what is the goal and the reason for you having your social media accounts? Is it working for you? It's okay to have different reasons for different accounts. If they're for personal use, then keep them personal. If they are public and or professional accounts, be mindful on how you are marketing yourself and how you may be perceived by that possible employer. What are you doing to recognize and be recognized for the work and accomplishments that you have attained? And consider, if you need experience, get involved, volunteer, join a student organization, participate in research opportunities, and find ways to post your involvement, leadership, and skills. Sharing past and current accomplishments through finding ways to connect with current day news and events is key. Be creative, like someone who recently posted a snapshot of their travels in the last 3 years with the title of "Waiting for My Next Adventure, Graduate for Hire." Or another, recently a student who made a post of a video on LinkedIn discussing who she was due to COVID-19, and she was taking the time to introduce herself via video and talk about her professional development experiences. I thought, this is great stuff. These are great ways to connect, be visible, be current, while showing your ability to be multidimensional to hiring managers. Use your life events and experiences to connect to your profession and post to your social media. Work your passion, be creative, and remember, employers are wanting and looking to get to know who you are. If you like these short presentations that we're kind of doing right now, I want to invite you to continue to meet up with us and check out our ACE podcast called Pioneer Talk. We will be discussing professional development topics and interviewing hiring managers about what they're looking for in a candidate. Look us up, and we hope to connect with you on our Pioneer Talk podcast. If you would like some additional help to figure out how to best use your social media accounts, or just for career counseling, email us at ace@csueastbay.edu. For information about internships, email us at internships@csueastbay.edu. And thank you for your time today. And I guess maybe some questions.
Yeah, so we have a couple questions. The first one is Michael. Are social media and networking more important or more of a liability for people looking for online or telecommute jobs?
In regards to telecommute jobs, I think those are two different things. As far as liability, I guess I would have to ask a follow-up question. What we're trying to do is show who you are as a person so that you can be a viable candidate, that you are a great team member and a good fit for the company. In regards to telecommuting, I think that's about the culture of the office, and depending on how that would hinder you, I'm not sure how those two are connected.
Okay, and we'll wait to see if there's a follow-up for that.
Yeah, if there's a follow-up.
Gotcha. So now we have Alexa. Her question is, would you recommend setting your profiles to private or viewable only by friends or connections?
I think it depends. If it's a personal account, I feel if it's a personal account, then you have the flexibility to be public with your personal account and those that you have entered in. But if you're using it for professional, then I think if you have too many private settings, then some employers and HR recruiters will question, why is there so much that's turned off? I think, being open and truthful about your thoughts and expressions should be, again, thought out, and asking yourself, is this going to hurt you in the long run, or is this going to benefit you in the long run? So just having, again, the lens of a hiring manager. I'm not saying don't be who you are, not being, not being truthful of what your opinions are, but just being mindful in regards to, is this a private account and personal account, or is this a professional account?
And so we have a question from Karen. As far as employers checking in on social media, can employers see your profile even if you are private?
If it's private, they usually do not have access to those accounts. What they will do, depending on what type of level of membership they have, they usually get the profiles of candidates that fit the profile of the jobs that they are seeking to hire or fill. And so what may happen is they will pull your information, and then advertisements of that job or posting will possibly be sent to you. It's because of the algorithms and things that are involved in that process. That's probably how that will get to you.
Okay, we have a question from Jasmine. Is it harmful to not have social media presence?
You know, and I'll be truthful, what I'm hearing with all of the recruiters and employers, they want to be able to access candidates via LinkedIn, Indeed, all of these, Handshake, these career platforms. And not having a social media account can hinder you in regards to access. The reality is that at the end of the day, you are going to have to search out and apply for an opportunity. And if that doesn't get in your way, then you're fine. But if you want to maximize the opportunities, then having a social media account, you do benefit from, because then you have more access to other opportunities that may be posted that you may not actually be aware of, and they may not be pushed to you because of your credentials and your experiences in your profile.
And then we have a follow-up from Michael. It is, I'm getting at the voyeuristic side of it. Someone will find your Facebook for personal purposes, so they can see your cat villa videos, etc. And it's a liability. Is this more of a problem for telecommuter applicants or somehow less?
I think it's equally, again, it speaks to, is it appropriate content that you're posting on your public accounts? If it's a public account, understand that recruiters, employers can access these videos that you're posting, or projects that you're posting, or comments and opinions that you're posting, or those that you've been tagged in and you've been associated with, which is why I think it's important for you to recognize, like, if it's a personal account, then let it truly be a personal account, rather than, there are a lot of us that try to kind of mesh professional life and personal life into one account. But sometimes what happens is, depending on who your network is, that may or may not, that may or may not benefit you, depending on what content you're posting, because, again, is it through the lens of a hiring manager? And there's been many times where folks will call and find out, do you know this person? I know that you're connected to this person. I see that we're connected in some network. And that's how people actually, talk. That's what social networking is. We talk, and we talk about our experiences and our relationships, and also the professional relationships that we may or may not have had with that person. And hopefully it's a positive one.
We have one more question from Karen. I am a volunteer to a social organization off campus. As I try to relay this information, how would you recommend approaching this information with people who aren't thinking long-term and are posting inappropriate content?
Well, that's the reason why we're doing this. Thanks for that question. And I think part of it is we get so in tune with the now, and we are trying to think about, oh, this is a great event, or this is my opinion right now, this is a current situation. Well, is this going to help you in the future? And what tends to happen, what I hear from recruiters and employers, is we get this great candidate, we do a quick Google search, or we look on LinkedIn, or we look on Facebook, or we look on their Instagram feed, and we realize this is a completely different candidate. And that may or may not break the opportunity for that person to be hired. And so I think it's important for folks to realize, again, going back to, is this what is the purpose of the account? If it's a personal account, keep it private, and if it's a business account, professional account, networking account, then be mindful of, again, reminding every time you post, what is the purpose of this post? Is this meaningful? Is this going to help me? in some way, in a positive way? And will this possibly come back to haunt me? There are many examples where folks will put a thing on Twitter and, as they're landing, they realize their world is turned upside down, if you know what I'm talking about. Even, well, I'll just leave it at that because there's a lot of Twitter examples and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
I do want to point out that my name is Monica Brooks. I'm the Alumni Engagement Coordinator. As the Alumni Engagement Coordinator, social media is part of my job. So what I did was I created a specific Facebook page specifically for my job as an Alumni Engagement Coordinator. And that page is completely public, and you can see everything. I have a private page for my family and friends, and they're, and they don't usually cross. A lot of people who are in social media, or I've noticed that a lot of people, of a certain age do that to separate what another person said was church and state. So that's one idea. That it's true, especially since we're on our phones so much before, much more while we're all on quarantine. And then Brianna says, what is your opinion of viral trends on apps such as TikTok that may have inappropriate content, but everyone is doing it?
The TikTok thing, I think, again, it's what is your connection to it? And I'll give you an example. We had a team and we did a TikTok dance, but it was in support of our students, and I think that it was not a negative, connection. It was for the positive purpose. And I think that for me, it's how are you using it? And so what is your connection to it? How are you using it? And how are you marketing this experience?
I think Mary Elena had a good point with, with looking at what you're looking at, would you hire you? So that's kind of, I think, and that goes across all platforms. I do know that a lot of our faculty and staff, a lot of them have TikTok. So I think that it's like, would you hire you? Would you, and then what people in my office say, would your grandmother appreciate what was on your social media? Because that's usually the generation of people who are hiring you, more or less. So that's always a good guideline.
If you're embarrassed or ashamed or possibly, having a blush in your cheeks if somebody were to review content, then obviously I think that content is questionable. I think it's important for you to think about also how to maximize your posts. There's nothing wrong with posting what you're eating for dinner or out with friends, but how can you connect it to your professional career or passion? And the reality is what is your story? What story are you creating about yourself on social media and through social networking? And hopefully through that process of thinking through that lens, you will be more strategic in the process of how do you use your social media accounts.
Yeah, and I want to bring up Karen Parada, who's the one asking the questions. She is our Associated Students Incorporated, one of our representatives for the College of Science. So because she does a lot of things for the College of Science, even in a social setting, it also shows off that she has a position, which she can use in social media settings. So it's kind of a way for you to use what you're doing for fun as professional content.
And, employers are looking at that, especially if you don't have a lot of experience or if you're getting into your career field and you're trying to figure out what is my story. It's being able to capture these moments of experience and dialogue through creative ways, whether it's blogging or, creating a quick video or posting an opinion piece on, some content you saw. I've been seeing some really creative ways that students, especially now during COVID-19, are being very creative on LinkedIn and in different formats, even on Instagram, what is your story? Because employers will inevitably look you up and do their research. And if they're seeing that this person, this candidate is consistent in the, as the person that they met in the interview, but also in their real life, that's what I'm hearing from recruiters and hiring managers is they want someone who's authentic and who's passionate about what they do, and they're not going to sell them this bogus story. And so that's important, is being strategic in how you're connecting your content to professional strategy on how to get closer to the job or to the career or to the career field that you want to be in.
Are there any other questions that you have for Mary Elena?